Hello everyone and welcome into Coach Craig Sports. This is the NFL DFS player pool video for week number 6. If you're joining me for the very first time, first of all, welcome in. Second of all, this is how today's video will be structured. We're going to be going through both my player pools on both FanDuel and DraftKings and talking kind of through them, all the relevant players. If there's somebody that's in this player pool that you don't want to play, obviously you don't have to play them. If there's somebody that you really want to play that's not in my player pool, feel free to play them as well. Stacks obviously do play a big role, especially if you're playing in larger tournaments. But without further ado, we're going to get right over to the DraftKings side and talk about the quarterback position. So we're going to start off with Lamar Jackson, $7,800. Obviously, been a pretty good start to the season for him. Goes against the Washington Commanders this week. Very favorable matchup, so not too much to be said here. You can play Lamar Jackson by himself. Might want to stack some of his options alongside him this week, whether it's Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, or someone else. And then on the opposite end of that game, we have Jaden Daniels, $7,300. Really getting up there in price tag, though. Goes against the Baltimore defense this week. They gave up a lot of points to Cincinnati last week, so there is some upside to be had there, but maybe a little bit tougher matchup than some of the other weeks that he's faced so far. Move down, Dak Prescott, $6,700. Going against that Detroit Lions defense. Their secondary really hasn't been as good or as better as they probably hoped, so I do like the upside with Dak Prescott and company. With whether or not you stack him with CeeDee Lamb, Jake Ferguson, or someone else, that's kind of up to you at that point in time. Then we have Jordan Love going against the Arizona Cardinals. Should be a pretty attractive matchup there. A lot of different options that you can stack him with, whether it's a wide receiver and Jaden Reed. If you want to play Romeo Doubs coming off that suspension, Tucker Kraft coming off a pretty big week. A lot of different options out there just in general. Then we have Jared Goff, $6,400, the other end of that Dallas Cowboys game. So definitely do like him quite a bit, whether you're playing him with Amon-Ra, St. Brown, Jameson Williams. If you really want to play Sam Laporta, you could probably do that as well. Eric Kendricks is out for them at linebacker this week. Then we got Kirk Cousins coming off one of the best games of his career, $6,200, going against the Panthers defense that has really struggled so far to start the year. So a lot of upside to be had there. And then we move down Justin Fields, $5,800, going against the Raiders defense that's been all right at times this year, but really underperformed at other times as well. So like the rushing upside, Justin Fields, like all the opportunities that could be there for him in general. And then last but not least, I did add Bo Nix here at $5,400, going against the Chargers as they are without two of their top three cornerbacks in Jair Taylor and Asante Samuel Jr. Christian Fulton's been a little bit banged up himself, so a lot of opportunities for Bo Nix and company in this game just in general. Then we move over to the running back position. We got Saquon Barkley at the top, $8,200. Going against the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland defense, we probably expected to be a little bit better this year than they've been so far. Little bit of question marks on that defensive line at this point in time. A little bit banged up secondary, especially at that safety position. So definitely do like Saquon, even with A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith both returning this week. And then we have Derrick Henry in that Washington and Baltimore game, $8,000. Washington defense hasn't been that great so far this year. Derrick Henry's been pretty good in recent weeks, so not too much to be said there. Alvin Kamara, a little bit banged up, $7,700. Does have that high-end upside once again. Goes against Tampa Bay defense, which, they might have to rely on Alvin Kamara a little bit more this week with Spencer Rattler at quarterback. Then we got Josh Jacobs, $6,700, going against the Arizona Cardinals. It is a pretty favorable matchup for him, kind of that bell cow for that Packers team once again, so would not be surprised if he has another good week. Then we have Bijan Robinson at $6,600, going against the Carolina Panthers, one of the best matchups in terms of running backs. So if you want to play Bijan Robinson at $6,600, you can definitely do that. And if you want to go all the way down to Tyler Algier, it's kind of a punt play at $5,100. You can definitely do that as well. And then next up is J.K. Dobbins, $6,200, going against the Denver defense. No Gus Edwards this week, so could get a couple more opportunities in this game just in general. Definitely do like the upside that he could have on any given week. Tony Pollard, $6,000, going against that Indianapolis Colts defense. That defensive line is really banged up at this point in time, so definitely do like the upside. Tony Pollard, $6,000. If you want to punt play down to Tajay Spears at $5,100, you can definitely do that as well. Austin Eckler is $5,600, going against the Baltimore Ravens. Brian Robinson Jr. wasn't able to practice all week. Technically, this is questionable. He's going to be a game-time decision due to his knee injury. Did not play in the second half of last week's game, so if he's out, Austin Eckler is going to look really good, and they might be trailing this game, which could give him some additional pass-catching opportunities just in general. Then we have Bucky Irving, $5,400. Tougher matchup against the Saints, but Rachaad White is listed as doubtful for this week. Probably not going to play, so Bucky Irving will be the primary back for this Tampa Bay team. And then last but not least, we have Antonio Gibson, $5,300. No Ramondre Stevenson this week. He's out due to a foot injury. So Antonio Gibson is expected to be the primary back for the New England Patriots this week. Going against the Texans, not the greatest matchup in the world, but if the volume's there, he could definitely pay off at that price tag. Moving over to the wide receiver position, we got CeeDee Lamb going against the Detroit Lions. Probably going to be majority of the time in the slot. He might be a little bit more on the outside now with Brandon Cooks out, but definitely do like his upside. Going to be that primary option for Dak Prescott and company once again. Then we moved to the opposite side of the game. We got Amon-Ra St. Brown, really attractive matchup in the slot versus Jordan Lewis. And so definitely do like his upside. It's a great game to stack just all around. A.J. Brown, $7,800 going against the Cleveland Browns, making his return, I believe, coming off that knee injury. Denzel Ward's listed as questionable, so might be an even better matchup than we did expect. I do kind of like this Eagles team just in general this week. Then we move down to Stephon Diggs, $7,400 going against New England Patriots. I know some people have kind of freaked out about like Christian Gonzalez matchup in past weeks, but I'm not really afraid of it. There is no Nico Collins this week, so Stephon Diggs looks pretty good at $7,400. Marvin Harrison Jr. is $7,200 going against the Green Bay Packers. Jair Alexander still listed as questionable. He's missed a couple weeks now, so even if he plays, he's still pretty banged up at this point in time. Do like the upside that Marvin Harrison Jr. could have on any given slate. And then on the opposite end of the game, we got Jaden Reed, $7,000 going against the Arizona Cardinals. He primarily occupies that slot position for the Green Bay Packers. Garrett Williams technically listed as questionable for the Cardinals, so if he's unable to go, it's going to be a backup. And it's going to be an even better matchup in that case as well. Then we have Chris Godwin, $6,900 going against New Orleans Saints. He primarily plays out of the slot, which will line him up against Alontae Taylor, which is the spot that you do want to attack in that New Orleans Saints secondary. Then we move down to Drake London, $6,700 going against the Carolina Panthers. You might worry a little bit about J.C. Horn, but he's not played that great so far this season, or not up to his level of expectations. So still definitely do like the upside of Drake London on this slate as well. Zay Flowers, $6,500 if you want to pair him with Lamar Jackson. Definitely does make a lot of sense against this poor Washington Commanders secondary. On the opposite end of the game, we got Terry McLaurin, $6,400. That primary target for Jane Daniels once again. There is a chance that Marlon Humphrey misses this game. He's technically listed as questionable, so could be even more attractive matchup for him just in general. Then we get down to Deontay Johnson, $6,100, going against the Atlanta Falcons. Primary guy for this Panthers team at this point in time, technically listed as questionable, but I do expect him to play once again this week. Jameson Williams, kind of a sneaky play this week. I actually do like him a little bit more going against Dallas Cowboys. We'll see whether Deron Bland's back or not this week. He was listed as questionable, was able to practice a couple times, so we'll see if he's back or not. Could make a little bit of a difference, but at the same time, do really like the upside of Jameson Williams this week overall. Then we move down to Cortland Sutton, going against that banged up Chargers secondary, especially in that quarterback position. There is no Josh Reynolds this week, so could see a couple additional targets at the same time as well. Definitely do like his upside. Then DeAndre Hopkins, going against the Colts secondary, looks like a really favorable matchup for him. Still might be on limited snaps, but there is a little bit of upside to be had there versus that secondary in general. And then kind of as our punt plays, we got Josh Palmer, $4,500 going against the Denver secondary. I like the upside with him. I think $4,500 might be a little bit too much, but if it ultimately ends up paying off, it ultimately ends up paying off. And then we got Trey Tucker going against the Pittsburgh Steelers, $4,200. Devontae Adams is out once again. Jacoby Myers listed as questionable, wasn't able to practice most of the week. So Trey Tucker might be the primary guy for them this week. It's probably going to be Brock Bowers 1 and then Trey Tucker 2 if Jacoby Myers misses. But still some opportunities to be had there just in general. And then Kendrick Bourne, $3,800. Definitely do like that upside at that price tag. We'll see what he ultimately ends up looking like in his second game back and with Drake May at quarterback. Move over to the tight end position. We got Brock Bowers, $6,000. Going against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Looks like a pretty attractive matchup just in general. No Devontae Adams once again. Jacoby Myers is banged up. Listed as questionable. Wasn't able to practice most of the week. So Brock Bowers is probably going to be that number one target for a new quarterback, Aiden O'Connell, this week. So that should be pretty interesting just in general. Trey McBride, $5,700. Going against the Packers. Should be a decent matchup there. Number 1 or 2 target for Kyler Murray going against that Packers team. Could be a pretty back and forth game as well. Then we have Jake Ferguson, $5,000. Going against the Detroit Lions. I like the matchup. Probably that number 2 target for Dak Prescott and this Cowboys team once again this week. Then we got Tucker Kraft, $4,800. Coming off a really big game, so his price tag did jump up quite a bit. But still a pretty good matchup versus this Arizona Cardinals team just in general. And, Romeo Doubs, what's he going to give you this week? Christian Watson's still a little bit banged up. Obviously, the one constant is going to be Jaden Reed, but Tucker Kraft's going to look pretty good. Luke Musgrave just went on IR, so that probably helps him out just a little bit as well. And then we got Kyle Pitts, $4,400 against arguably one of the best matchups right now in the Carolina Panthers. Shaq Thompson on IR. I believe he's done for the year. And then Josie Jewell's out once again this week. So there is a pair of backup linebackers in there for this Panthers team at this point in time. Mark Andrews, I like the price tag at $3,900. I know it hasn't been the greatest season overall. Going against Washington should be a pretty decent matchup. Should be a pretty back and forth game. So I do like the upside that he could potentially have in this game. And then we have Zach Ertz, the opposite side of the game, $3,700. He's the number 2 target for Jane Daniels. If he gets in the end zone, could be a really good play at that cheap price tag. And then last but not least, we have Jatavian Sanders, $2,600. Tommy Tremble's out with a concussion, so Sanders should occupy that tight end 1 spot this week unless Ian Thomas is activated. He was limited in practice earlier this week, but he's currently on IR, but I do not expect him back this week at least. Then we move over to the defenses. We got the Pittsburgh Steelers, $3,700. Going against Las Vegas Raiders. No Devontae Adams. Zamir White's banged up. Jacoby Myers is banged up. A lot of injuries on that team. Aiden O'Connell's making the start. He had a lot of turnovers last year. So not really sure that's going to be better than Gardner Minshew at this point in time. Steelers defense is pretty good just in general. So I do definitely like the upside that they have in this matchup. And then we have the Houston Texans going against the Patriots. Drake May making his first career start behind arguably the worst offensive line in football. Not a lot of playmakers around him. Ramondre Stevenson's out, so should be a pretty good one for them. We got the Philadelphia Eagles going against the Cleveland Browns, who have been terrible so far at the start off the year. So definitely like the upside there. Eagles defense maybe patching it together slowly coming off that bye week. And then we have the Broncos, who have played really well on defense, $3,200 going against the Chargers. If they can stop J.K. Dobbins, if they can limit Justin Herbert, make him uncomfortable, could be a decent matchup for them this week overall. And then we move down to the Colts going against Will Levis and the Titans. If they can get pressure on him, it's going to be pretty good overall. Although that Colts defense is very, very banged up at this point in time. And then last but not least, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at $2,600 going against a rookie quarterback in Spencer Rattler, making his first career start. So if they can get under his skin, if they can rattle him, a lot of opportunities to have some turnovers in that game just in general. But with that being said, that's a quick little rundown on the DraftKings side. We'll get moved over to FanDuel and talk about my player pool over there as well. So on the FanDuel side, we're going to start off at the quarterback position. Most of the FanDuel side is going to look pretty similar to DraftKings, but I will repeat it just in case you are somebody that only plays FanDuel. You're not looking at the DraftKings side. We're going to start off Lamar Jackson at quarterback, $9,500. Going against Washington Commanders this week, one of the worst defenses in football. A lot of opportunities, a lot of upside for Lamar Jackson and company this week, whether you're playing him by himself, whether you're pairing him up with Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, or someone else. And then on the opposite end of the game, we got Jaden Daniels, $8,700. Probably a little bit more than I like to pay for him. Maybe a little bit of a tougher matchup going against the Ravens, although they did give up a lot of points to Cincinnati last week. So wouldn't be surprised if that's the case once again. Then we get down to Joe Burrow's Sunday Night Football game, $8,100, going against the Giants. So it should be a pretty attractive matchup there just in general. Definitely do like his upside. Dak Prescott, $8,000, going against that Detroit Lions defense. I expect this to be a very back and forth game. So whether you want to play him, whether you want to play Jared Goff, a lot of upside in both those quarterbacks this week. Kyler Murray makes the list on FanDuel because he's $7,800 going against the Packers. Packers defense has played really well so far to start off the year. Kyler Murray does have that rushing upside. If this game goes back and forth, could be some pretty strong upside with him just in general. Get down to Justin Fields, $7,600 going against the Raiders. Raiders have been hit or miss so far on defense this year. Obviously, you got the legs of Justin Fields. I'm not particularly chasing anybody to pair him up with, but if you want to play like a George Pickens, if you want to play a Calvin Austin or a Pat Freiermuth, you could definitely do that as well. And then last but not least, we have Kirk Cousins, $7,400, coming off one of the best games of his career going against the Carolina Panthers defense. That is not good by any means at this point in time. I know I mentioned Bo Nix on DraftKings. If you want to play him on FanDuel, you could definitely do that as well. Versus a very banged up cornerback unit for that Los Angeles Chargers defense. Then we move over to the running back position. Saquon Barkley going against the Browns. Should be a lot of opportunities there. A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, both back this week, but still like Saquon quite a bit in this matchup. Derrick Henry, $9,100, going against the Washington Commanders. They haven't been that great against the run this year. Derrick Henry's been pretty good as of late. Not too much to be said here. Alvin Kamara, a little bit banged up at this point in time, $8,800. Could see some additional touches with Spencer Rattler at quarterback, though. Mainly leaning on that run game maybe a little bit more than they would have if Derek Carr was under quarterback. Then we got Bijan Robinson, $8,500. So he's a lot more expensive in comparison to DraftKings, but the matchup versus Carolina is really good, so definitely some upside to be had there just in general. Josh Jacobs, still that bell cow for this Green Bay Packers team going against the Arizona Cardinals. Defensive line's not the greatest, so should be able to run the ball in this game overall. Tony Pollard, $7,000, going against that Colts defensive line that is very, very banged up at this point in time. So if that offensive line for the Titans can be at least adequate in this game, Tony Pollard should have a pretty big game. If you want to play Tajay Spears at $5,700, it's kind of a pay down option. You can definitely do that as well. Then we move over to J.K. Dobbins, $6,700, going against Denver Broncos. Their defense has been pretty good so far this year. No Gus Edwards this week. Should see some additional touches in that situation. I have Tyrone Tracy Jr. here at $5,800 going against Cincinnati. So maybe this is the one that we want to hold on a little bit just because Devin Singletary, questionable to play, was limited practice all week. That's due to a groin injury, I do believe. So we'll see whether or not he plays or not. I would assume that he's probably out once again this week, but being the Sunday Night Football game makes it a little bit tougher. Got Austin Eckler, $5,700. Brian Robinson Jr. technically listed as questionable to play. A game-time decision. Wasn't able to practice all week due to a knee injury that kept him out of most of the second half in last week's game. So Austin Eckler going to look pretty good if there is no Brian Robinson Jr., and if the Washington Commanders are trailing in this game versus the Baltimore Ravens this week. Then the last two guys that we got to talk about, Bucky Irvin and Antonio Gibson filling in for injured running backs. So Bucky Irvin, $5,700 going against the Saints. Not the greatest matchup in the world, but no Rachaad White this week. He is listed as doubtful, expected to miss due to, I believe, a foot injury. So Bucky Irvin will be the primary running back for them. And then Antonio Gibson replacing Ramondre Stevenson, who is out this week, I believe, also with a foot injury. $5,500 going against Houston Texans. Not the greatest matchup in the world, but definitely does have some upside if given enough touches in this game overall. Then we move over to the wide receiver position. We got Jamar Chase at the top, $9,500. Going against the Giants secondary is a very, very attractive matchup for him. He's playing with his hair on fire pretty much at this point in time, trying to get that new contract. So definitely do like his upside. And then we move down to CeeDee Lamb, $9,300. Going against the Detroit secondary that has not been much improved this year. So I definitely do like his upside. Clear number one option for Dak Prescott and this Cowboys team once again. Amon-Ra St. Brown, opposite side of the game, $9,000. Going against Dallas Cowboys, mainly against Jordan Lewis in the slot, should be a really attractive matchup for him. A.J. Brown, $8,100, making his return coming off that knee injury. Goes against the Cleveland Browns. Denzel Ward is listed as questionable this week, so he's either banged up or not playing, so should be a pretty attractive matchup. And they are very thin in terms of their safety department as well, so if A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith can get loose on one, could be a pretty big day for either one of them. Stephon Diggs, $8,000 going against the Patriots. No Nico Collins this week will be that number one option for C.J. Stroud and company. Then we move over to Jaden Reed, $7,700 going against the Arizona Cardinals, primarily operating out of the slot. Gary Williams listed as questionable this week, so you might see him banged up, or you might see his backup, so it should be a pretty attractive matchup for Reed just in general, although his price tag is getting up there at this point in time. T. Higgins, $7,600 going against that Giants secondary. It's a very attractive matchup as well. If you don't want to play Jamar Chase, if you want to save a little bit of money, you can definitely go to T. Higgins as well. Get down to Chris Godwin, $7,500 going against the New Orleans Saints. If you're going to attack their quarterback unit, it is going to be Alontae Taylor in the slot, and that would be Chris Godwin in this situation. Then we have Drake London, $7,400 going against the Carolina Panthers. I like the upside that's here just in general. I wouldn't be shocked if Atlanta kind of runs away with this game, although Andy Dalton at quarterback could make this a little bit more interesting just in general. Do like the upside of Drake London, even if he's going to see some J.C. Horn, who has not played up to his potential so far this season. Zay Flowers, $7,200 going against that Washington Commanders poor secondary. If you want to play him with Lamar Jackson, definitely makes a ton of sense this week. Marvin Harrison Jr., only $7,000. He's actually cheaper on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings. Goes against the Green Bay Packers. Jair Alexander is listed as questionable. We'll see if he plays. If he plays, he's banged up either way. So Marvin Harrison Jr. definitely do like that upside in a potentially back and forth game. Deontay Johnson, $6,900. Like his upside since Andy Dalton's been at quarterback. Goes against Atlanta. Potentially a back and forth game, so definitely do like him as well. Terry McLaurin, $6,800 going against Baltimore Ravens. Marlon Humphrey listed as questionable due to injuries, so it could be a little bit more favorable matchup than it looks currently on paper. And then we got Jameson Williams, $6,300. I like him against the Dallas Cowboys team. We'll see whether or not Deron Bland is back this week. If he's not, looks even better for Jameson Williams. And then on FanDuel, I did list both Calvin Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins, $6,000, $5,800 respectively, going against this Colts secondary that's pretty banged up at this point in time. We'll see whether or not Kenny Moore plays or not, but either way, these are the guys that operate on the outside, so that shouldn't impact them too much just in general. Then we move down to Cortland Sutton, $5,600. A lot of upside this week going against that Chargers secondary that is missing two of their top three corners. Trey Tucker, $5,400. Like I mentioned on DraftKings, Devontae Adams is out. Jacoby Myers is questionable. He was barely able to practice this week, so Trey Tucker could be that number two option for them this week behind Brock Bowers. And then my final two are kind of punt plays. We got Josh Palmer, $5,100 going against Denver Broncos. Could be that potential number one target for Justin Herbert and company this week. And then Kendrick Bourne, $4,800. Not seeing too many guys like Kendrick Bourne down here at this price tag at this point in time. Second game back. First game with Drake May, so we're not really sure what we're going to get out of him this week. So definitely a punt play just in general, but could have some significant upside. Then we move over to the tight end position. We got Brock Bowers, $6,700. Attractive matchup versus the Pittsburgh Steelers just in general. And if Jacoby Myers is also out, in addition to Devontae Adams this week, should be that clear-cut number one target for new quarterback Aiden O'Connell. Then we have Trey McBride, $6,500. Going against the Green Bay Packers, attractive matchup, should be the number one or two option for Kyler Murray this week. Jake Ferguson, $6,100. Going against the Detroit Lions, should be that number two option for Dak Prescott and this Cowboys team. Not the greatest matchup in the world, but definitely do like his upside at that. Tucker Kraft is up to $6,000 coming off that strong week. Goes against the Arizona Cardinals. Probably the number two option for this Green Bay Packers team this week. Definitely do like his upside. Luke Musgrave is on IR, so should be some significant snaps for him just in general. Then we move down to Kyle Pitts, $5,900, going against Carolina Panthers that are without both their starting linebackers at this point in time. So a lot of upside to be had there. Kirk Cousins coming off one of the best games of his career. He's looking pretty healthy at this point in time. Kyle Pitts maybe finally showing some of that upside that we had hoped for out of him for a long time just in general. Then we have Zach Ertz going against the Baltimore Ravens. Not too much to be said here. Number 2 target for Jaden Daniels. If he scores a touchdown, could look pretty good at $5,000. And then last but not least, we have Jatavian Sanders, $4,800, going against the Atlanta Falcons. Not worried about their linebacker room just in general. Tommy Tremble's out due to a concussion this week. Ian Thomas technically was limited in practice all week. Listed as questionable, currently on IR. If he's activated later today, then we'll make note of it. But do expect Jatavian Sanders to be the tight end one for this Panthers team this week once again overall. And then last but not least, moving over to the defenses, we got the Texans, $5,000. Going against New England Patriots, terrible offensive line. Drake May making his first career start. No Ramondre Stevenson. Not too much to be said here. Looks like a pretty good matchup just in general. Then we have the Pittsburgh Steelers going against Las Vegas Raiders. No Devontae Adams. Jacoby Myers, Zamir White. Both this is questionable at this point in time. Offensive line a little bit banged up as well. Ian O'Connell is the starter now, which I don't think is much better than Gardner Minshew. Is probably not even better than Gardner Minshew. Pretty turnover-prone guy. Willing to take some risk. The Steelers could definitely dominate this game just in general. Then we move over to the Philadelphia Eagles going against Cleveland Browns, who have played like crap this year. Deshaun Watson's not been good whatsoever. Eagles defense trying to patch it together coming off that bye week. Could have some significant upside this week just in general. Colts defense pretty banged up at this point in time, but if they can get some pressure on Will Levis, should be a decent matchup for them at $4,000. Not a terrible price tag. And on FanDuel, one significant change is the Falcons are listed here. They're $3,800. Decent defense. You know, if they can get some pressure on Andy Dalton behind a pretty banged up offensive line, should be some opportunities to be had there. And then last but not least, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, $3,700 going against rookie quarterback Spencer Rattler and the New Orleans Saints this week. But with that being said, that's a quick little rundown on my player pools for both DraftKings and FanDuel for week number 6. As always, if you have any questions related to NFL DFS whatsoever, be sure to drop them down in the comment section of this video. This player pool will be continually updated over on my Patreon. I do also have my NFL DFS cheat sheets listed on the YouTube community tab on Facebook and on Twitter, so definitely be sure to check them out over there. Kind of a condensed version of these player pools just in general. Once again, if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's down in the comment section, whether it's on Twitter, and I'll be more than happy to help you with that as well. But with that being said, if you are brand new to my channel, checking out for the very first time, or have yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. I definitely would appreciate it. It helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now, we have the NFL DFS player pool video. This video coming out once a week, typically on either Friday evening or Saturday morning. Sometimes runs into Saturday afternoon. Probably going to run into Saturday afternoon this week. And then I have my CFL DFS video coming out once a week. There's 2 more weeks of that. Unfortunately missed this week's due to some other issues, but do once again apologize for that. And then last but not least, if you're interested in prop betting, if you're interested in sports betting whatsoever, be sure to check out the links and promos down in the description below for BetUS, Parlay Play, and Prize Picks. If you are a brand new user on any one of those 3 sites, when you sign up, make your initial deposit, you will get a first match deposit bonus. For Prize Picks and Parlay Play, it's 100% match up to $100. And then for BetUS, it's 125% match up to $2,000. So some pretty great opportunities to be had out there. If you have any other additional questions related to that whatsoever, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's down in the comment section of this video or on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport, and be more than happy to help you with that journey as well. But with that being said, that's all that I truly have for this week's video. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. Definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day, no matter what day you're watching this on, a good weekend overall, and some really good luck in NFL DFS for week number 6.